Inside Out is presented by HTC. This is life. Connect with it. And sponsored in part by Luke Rankin, Rankin & Rankin Law Firm. Experience you can trust. And by Clark Parker with Myrtle Beach CPAs, proudly serving the area for over 40 years. And by Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food, where Mama eats.
Wondering what's up this month on Inside Out? Well, we're going to be visiting Pawleys Island as we meet a man who's written a ton of national jingles. We'll tour 1233 Distillery in Little River. Then we're going to go to Conway and we're going to meet up with a rodeo and trick riding pro who's taking her horses and working with special needs kids. And how about a cancer survivor in Myrtle Beach who's now traveling the world on the Dragon Boat Circuit? It's all here this month on Inside Out.
I've got South Carolina on my mind.
We're in Pawleys Island today, and here's my story. One day I was at the Litchfield House of Pancakes, and Amy, the owner there, said to me, "There's someone here in the restaurant, Diane, I want you to meet." Well, it's this man. I want you to meet Hank Martin. He is an incredible guy, singer-songwriter who has got a lineup of jingles that he's recorded in his lifetime. And so I want you to meet him. So Hank, how did it all begin for you?
It goes way back to Bishopville, South Carolina. My dad was an organist, Mom sang, and we all sang. I had 4 sisters. We were singing harmony in the car going and coming. And I had a band when I was 13. I moved to Sumter and graduated from Edmonds, moved there in the 10th. We had a high school band. And then we went off to college. And my dear friend Buzz that I sang with all those years, we sang in Mississippi in college. I met Linda there. Came back to South Carolina and started a band called Second Nature. And I had a pharmaceutical career in Columbia. I was the lead singer along with Buzz in Second Nature. And during those years, I also did some jingles for like Love Chevrolet, Dutch Grandma, Darren Beck Original, and so forth. And my brother-in-law, Archie, who was playing guitar in the band, he married my sister Mary. They moved to Nashville, and he started writing hits for Ronnie Milsap, Barbara Mandrell, and so forth. That was Archie Jordan, and what a great singer-songwriter artist he is. So we were going crazy when Archie's song, Almost Like a Song, went to #1 for Millsap, and what a difference she made in my life. And we decided to give it a shot. We packed the U-Haul and did some praying, and we moved to Nashville in '78 to pursue a recording career and a writing career, and found out that these people do tons of jingles here. So I started singing jingles in Nashville, doing backup on records, and that led to the rest of the career.
Well, and of course, sooner or later, he winds up moving to New York. But I want to ask you, give me 5 of your most favorite popular jingles. Wait till you hear this.
Jingle started again roughly in the late 70s and went up to 95. So you don't hear these anymore with me singing them.
But I bet I'll know them all.
Nationwide is on your side.
Of course.
And oh, the Burks are farming family in California's raising land.
Raisin
and
Bran.
With 2 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's.
Raisin Bran.
Got it.
Oh, awesome.
You make the most of who you are. To us, you really are a star at
McDonald's.
There you go.
Oh, my goodness.
And GE, we bring good things to life.
Boy.
And AT&T, reach out and touch someone. We did tons of those all during the 80s.
What an incredible career. You also have a Dolly Parton story I want to hear.
Try to be brief, because it's a long story. Long story
Well, there's
short.
nothing brief about Dolly, so go for it.
True. I got a call from a lady named Anita Ball who was singing. There were 2 backup singers, and they were adding a 3rd backup singer. She called me. I went and auditioned and packed the suitcase. I made the audition. We rehearsed for a month. The Thursday before we opened in Lake Tahoe at Harris for Dolly's show, it was right after 9 to 5 movie, Linda called me and said, "You got a call from New York. They want you to be in New York Tuesday morning to sing the lead vocal for TV Guide magazine." That was my first big one. There was no way I could get there after Dolly's show that's over at 10:30. I called my wonderful banker friend, Bill Coles, and said, Bill, I need to borrow $12,000 to charter a Learjet. But, you know, farmers borrow money to plant the crops and they pray for rain. Well, that's
you had to
what we
get to
did.
New York.
And we did. We got to New York, and the session went great. I met Michael DeLug, was the engineer on my first session. Look on Barry Manilow Records. He was the engineer on all of them. He also later on co-produced my gospel album with me. And I met a guy named David Lucas McFall, one of the biggest jingle companies in New York. It was a God wink, that's what I call them. And so David invited me back, and I commuted for 8 months, and my career took off, and we moved up there.
Now, most people would have not given up a gig with Dolly, but yet you can certainly see you did the right thing.
Dolly called me the following Saturday morning and said, "What are you doing?" You can imagine how she told me. "Get your butt back to Nashville and get on with your career." I said, "Dolly, I committed to Lake Tahoe and Las Vegas, and with your permission, I'd love to stay and finish." And she said, "Okay."
She gave you her blessing.
Yeah, she did.
So,
sweet lady.
With all these incredible things that you've done, what would you say, Hank, is the highlight of your career?
Well, I'd have to say the highlight, even though the jingles in my music and songwriting has been great, but the highlight was in the mid-'80s in New York. I had an experience where I realized that the things I learned in Sunday school growing up are really real. And I just wanted to be a singer and songwriter to record a gospel album, and I did. Well, Thank You Israel is the name of the song we wrote and the album, and a friend of mine sent it to Cliff Barra's office in Greenville. I didn't even know it was going to get to Cliff, and his secretary called me one day and asked me to come to Billy Graham Crusade at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and I got to meet him and I got to sing a song on that crusade, and I'd have to say that was the highlight.
And I would say that's a pretty big highlight.
It was awesome.
Now, I know, sadly, you lost your beautiful wife, Linda, but you met another angel, came into your life, and I want you to tell us how you met Beth, because she is the reason you now have a part-time life in Pawleys Island.
Right. It's a sweet, another God wink story. A year after Linda was gone, Beth sent me a little note because there were 4 Gatchel girls in Sumter. I graduated with Beth's oldest sister, Judy. She was 11 when I went off to college with Buzz. She was widowed 2 years before me, and so we were Facebooking. TJ invited me to come in November 16 to the Beach Music Hall of Fame because Second Nature just got inducted, and he still got the group going. And so I came, and Beth was Facebooking me, and she said she was coming, and maybe we could shag dance. And I thought, I got 2 reasons to come to Myrtle Beach. And so we met and we started dating, and we got married 2 years ago, July. And so half of our life is in Murfreesboro, which is right outside of Nashville, where mine and Linda's 3 children and 8 grands are, and half here with Beth. Because I was married 50 years, and I had no idea that I'd fall in love again, but it happened.
What a blessing. Well, speaking of Beth, I'm really excited because you two are going to be opening a wedding venue here in Pawleys Island very soon, and I'll be back in the spring to do a feature on that.
That's
But
awesome.
before we kind of tie up all the loose ends, here's a question for you. Other than Dolly and Billy Graham and the other famous people you've worked with along the way, any other celebs?
Well, I'd got to mention James Brown because he was a legend growing up. And 20 years ago, Archie wrote the song, and we were invited to Barnwell to do a James Brown celebration day with all kind of folks. And we sang it for him. I did my little James Brown thing, and they commissioned us to go back and record it. It's called Doing the James Brown. That was exciting.
But what we didn't tell you is that Hank, as a singer-songwriter in 1984, wrote the new state song for South Carolina. And then some big company came in and put all sorts of visuals behind it. And that's the way I've chosen to end a wonderful song about our state, a state that he loves and was born in, my friend Hank Martin, and here it is.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Diane.
At the foothills of the Appalachian chain, down through the rivers to the coastal plain, there's a place that I call home, and I'll never be alone, singing this Carolina love song. I've got South Carolina on my mind, remembering all those sunshine summer times, and the beauty of the autumn when the leaves turn to gold, touches my heart and thrills my soul. To have South Carolina on my mind, with those clean snow-covered mountain winter times, and the white sands of the beaches, and those Carolina beaches. I've got South Carolina on my mind. I've got South Carolina on my mind. I've got South Carolina on my mind.
Up next, a horse farm with lots of goodwill.
No matter where the day takes me, HTC provides the high-speed internet services I need. HTC delivers faster speeds, 24/7 local tech support, and free in-home Wi-Fi right here to Horry and Georgetown counties. As trusted community members serving up world-class internet service, I know HTC will keep my family connected to what matters most. Because you are here, and so are we.
High-speed internet starting at 100 megabits per second. Call today.
HTC. This is life. Connect with it.
Mark your calendars now for the 37th season of the Carolina Master Chorale, kicking off with a concert of favorite showstoppers in Nights on Broadway. And this year's new twist to your holiday favorites is Christmas and All That Brass. Celebrate a romantic Valentine's weekend with Music is the Food of Love. And they're ending the season on a hot note, Tango in Buenos Aires. Hold the dates, but purchase your season tickets now. Call or go online at carolinamasterchorale.com.
This segment of Inside Out is brought to you by Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food, where Mama eats.
Welcome to beautiful rural Conway. I want you to meet Joey Lewis. He is Joey Lewis Performance Horses, but we're also going to learn about a new nonprofit here called Cutting Stars. And so, Joey, you've had this farm for 10 years. Tell me what you do here.
Well, we train and teach cutting horses and versatility horses. We have an organization called the Southern Stock Horses Association that's all based on versatility. And we produce shows over in Bladenburg, North Carolina. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of kids, a lot of adults. I mean, it's just a great way to be able to learn everything you can about a horse.
So do people come out here to just ride horses?
Oh yes, at times, but most everybody here owns their own horse and they're here to learn. We're a training and teaching facility is what we are.
Is Jewel here one of your horses?
Well,
hey, Jewel.
No, she was. We raised her from a baby.
Hey,
and
can you lift your head up?
And, come here, Jewel.
Hey, Jewel. She's camera shy. Jewel.
We did raise her from a baby and we've trained her. She's had several different owners over the years, but now we are doing the all-around versatility with her, and she's doing very well this year. Her owner and everything has really taken the time to let me work with her all year in hopes that next year they'd be able to show her.
Now, you've mentioned cutting horses, and how is that different from other horses?
Cutting horses are a breed of their own. Okay, they're cow-bred horses that really, just like a good bird dog, they've got it in them. And when they lock onto a cow, after you've taught them how to do it correctly and everything, it's really amazing how they'll work that cow and keep that cow from getting back to the herd, is what you're trying to do. All starts out from being on a ranch, and you've got to separate a cow from a herd to be able to doctor it. All right, well, the first part is to separate that cow. That's called the cut. So once you've separated it, then you and your horse are going to work, and you're going to keep that cow from getting back to the herd. Once the cow sort of quits on you and turns away, that's when you would actually rope it, doctor it, things like that on the regular ranch. But the industry has taken the first part of it and turned it into cutting.
So tell me a little bit more about what you do here.
Well, we really love to teach. That's one of our favorite things to do is teaching people how to do this with their horses and everything. My wife, she works with the little kids from 5 years old on up. We've got a granddaughter here that just is amazing. She's 5 years old and already showing. And so that's what gives us pleasure, is the teaching of it.
But I know another thing that gives Joey and his family pleasure is the fact that they've started a nonprofit organization here, and it's called Cutting Stars. Tell me a little bit about it, and then we'll introduce the lady who's heading it up.
Yeah, Cutting Stars, that's going to be great. It's all about doing physical therapy on horseback. A young woman named Holland Currin, she's going to be the one that's going to head this up, and it's going to be pretty amazing.
Well, let's go to Holland and find out more. Starting a nonprofit is not an easy task, but this woman has taken it on. Yes, Holland Currin. And I understand you've been working with horses since you were 2 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Well, thanks to my mom, I grew up with starting off with a pony and a cart, riding around my hometown, and did field trials with her and bird dogs growing up, showing quarter horse, Palomino, Appaloosa, 4-H, you name it, just the gamut.
So tell me what you plan to do with this nonprofit.
Well, I started Cutting Stars from scratch, and it was a bear, but this nonprofit is for therapeutic horseback riding. So I'm here to help the community, children, teens, adults, seniors, not biased here, helping everybody out with any mental disabilities, physical disabilities, anyone that wants to come and just decompress in general with therapeutic horseback riding lessons, or if you just want to be around the horse, brush it, hang out, just decompress.
I love this.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got your heart in the right place, and I know that she's working 3 jobs to help make this nonprofit work. And not many people would work that hard to help others.
That's true, but I've been going at 100 miles per hour since the day I was born, I think.
You told me that you see some really special and neat things happen here. When people with disabilities or they're hurting somewhere, a horse can identify that.
They do identify that, and they'll bond with each individual in a specific way, and they form a team, and it's very, very interesting, especially when it's taken, when the rider comes from the ground to the back. And each specific horse that I team with a person, an individual, when they form that bond, and I'll use specific horses with specific gaits, like the trotting makes a difference to form the core power out to the limbs. It can be a wider horse or a more narrow horse, and specific gear, particular reins, like the ladder reins and the foam around the reins so they can better off to hold it. It's phenomenal. The work that goes into it and the teamwork that comes from it, I can't even explain it. You have to see it to believe it.
You're helping people to heal.
Correct.
Now, is there a fee for people who come out to work with these horses?
Sometimes there is and sometimes there's not. I'm a nonprofit, and right now I'm currently trying to find sponsors for people who cannot afford to pay for it themselves. And Diane, I'm so excited and so happy that I'm working with Mr. Gordon McCauley from the Coastal Carolina University Alumni Department. And he is providing interns for us, hopefully starting this fall, but definitely by the spring. We're just so grateful to have his help.
Well, as a nonprofit, I know you've got plenty of needs. How can our community help you?
We are currently trying to raise the money to cover our arena so that weather is never a factor in providing lessons for our students. And it's an 80 by 100 arena, and we would love to be able to have a roof over it.
You told me, too, that you'd love to see some advertisers actually advertising around the pens.
Yes, we are willing to put up any kind of advertisement that they would like to provide. If they would like to sponsor the covered arena or sponsor one of the horses.
And that way, when you do invite people to come in, there's fees for some, and then the people who can't afford it, you want to do it gratis because you really do care, don't you?
I do, definitely.
You want to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And wrapping up, Cutting Stars, your final words.
Cutting Stars is a heartfelt foundation that I started from scratch. And I'm so glad that I can provide this to our community because it is very, very needed.
And you are invited to come out and see the facility. Give us the location.
It's 811 Highway 548, Conway, South Carolina, 29527.
If you just love horses and want to come out, both Joey and Holland invite you to come and take a tour. And you too will be changed forever by this wonderful facility in Conway. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Well,
best
thanks so
wishes.
much.
It's going to be a super success.
Oh, thank you.
Little River's 1233 Distillery is next on Inside Out. Don't go away. Remember when Mama loved to cook? Well, now Mama eats at Magnolia's, and you should too. She knows that Magnolia's brings the Anderson family farm straight to the table. There's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch buffets, plus a salad bar and banquet space available. As for the price, Mama says she can't cook it that cheap. Magnolia's for good old Southern comfort food that'll have you coming back even before the cashier says. Y'all come back, 26th Avenue North and Ocean Boulevard in Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm Luke Rankin. Horry County is my home. I was born and raised here, and for nearly 31 years, I've been helping people. I'm an attorney. When folks need help after an accident, if they've been injured on the job or denied Social Security benefits, they call me. No screaming, no crashing cars here, just a serious offer to help. If you need legal advice or assistance, go with experience. Give me a call. Luke Rankin, Rankin & Rankin Law Firm. Experience you can trust.
It's always a great time at the HTC annual meeting held every August at the HTC Center on the campus of Coastal Carolina University. And as usual, our Inside Out cameras were there.
This segment of Inside Out is brought to you by Clark Parker with Myrtle Beach CPAs, proudly serving the area for over 40 years.
Welcome to 1233 Distillery in Little River. I want you to meet my new friend. This is Kevin Osborne. He's not only the president of this company, he is the head distiller. So tell me how this name came about.
1233 Distillery, the genesis of our brand really came about as I tell people, me and my staff every day celebrate our freedom to drink. And that came at the end of Prohibition when the 18th Amendment was repealed, which of course, the 21st Amendment enacted, which ended Prohibition, and that happened in December of 1933 or 12 of 33. So that's the genesis of the brand.
I'm sure there are people driving by, Kevin, who still don't know what you do in this beautiful new building in Little River right on 17.
Yeah, absolutely. New discovery every day. People walking in that have never been to a distillery. By the way, that's one of the reasons why we set up shop here. We decided we wanted to open the first craft distillery in the Grand Strand. So we moved here from California to do just that. And the South Carolina, there's a fair amount of distilleries, but they're mostly in the metropolitan areas. They're in Charleston and Columbia, and we're the first distillery here. So we're producing. We always tell people wineries make wine, breweries make beer, distilleries make spirits. So we're producing all traditional spirits here: vodkas, infused vodkas, rums, whiskeys, and gin.
Do you have one item that you think is really your specialty?
That's so hard. That's like saying, what's my favorite child?
Of course.
But I would say the most complex spirits we make are kind of my favorite because there's a lot of time and energy put into development. So I'd say some of my favorites would be our gin, which is a very different style than most people are used to drinking in this market. Most people are used to drinking London dry style gins. That'd be like your Tanquerays, your Bombay Sapphires. Ours is done in a very different style called New American style. So a lot of people don't like gin because it's super piney, right? It's got that pine tree essence to it. It comes from juniper berries, and our gin's different. We scale the juniper back, and we have 10 other botanicals that go in. So it's very complex. Our Crusader spiced rum is also very complex. We use about 100 Madagascar vanilla beans in every batch, along with cinnamon and cloves and allspice and nutmeg and ginger. And so it's very vanilla forward. And I'd say the spirits that are the most complex are the ones that are really my favorites.
So you mentioned Madagascar, but a lot of your products come from here, and that's really why I wanted to come to you. Let's talk about some of the things, Kevin, that you use in your products that you get right here in Horry or Georgetown counties.
Absolutely, yeah. So actually almost everything we use is locally sourced. I mean, the exception being a few of our gin botanicals and vanilla beans because they're just not grown here. Our molasses that we use for creating our rum comes from Fort Mill, South Carolina. And the grains we use for producing both our vodkas and our whiskeys all come from local Horry County farmers. So they're all locally grown. We have them milled for us in Conway. Another cool thing is that once the distillation process is finished and we've essentially stripped the alcohol from those grains, we have another farmer that comes and picks that up and takes it back and feeds his cows and pigs. So we actually have zero waste.
Terrific. So it's kind of recycled.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have anything that's actually made here in this building?
Yep. All of our spirits are made on site, including our vodka, all of our infused vodkas. We actually have an infusion room, our gin, and our rums. We are actually producing whiskeys, but whiskeys take time to age. The first release of our on-site produced whiskeys won't be until August of 2022. But we have two whiskeys that we have available now. They were just made for us from another distillery, but they're made to our mash bill, our recipe. So it's very reflective of what we're producing, but it's already fully mature.
I know that you and your wife studied up on this for quite some time before actually opening this facility, and you did find that South Carolina had some somewhat maybe unusual laws, like you can't serve food here.
Yeah.
That's strange to me.
It is kind of the opposite, right? Because bars are required to serve food, but we're not allowed to. We do encourage people, if you want to bring food in here, more than welcome to. When we hold events, we'll have food trucks in the parking lot, but we're not allowed to serve food in this building. Because we are actually a production distillery, we have very specific laws. Every state does. Every state's a little different, but South Carolina, the specific laws are that we have to close by 7 p.m. A lot of people sometimes are confused by that because they want to hang out later, come here after dinner. But unfortunately, we have to close by 7, and we can't be open on Sundays. And another restrictive law is that we can only serve 2 drinks per person per day if they come in.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, people will come in generally, and we'll do a tasting flight of our spirits, and then they can get a cocktail. We've got 12 cocktails that were designed by our spirit guides here, which is what we call our bartenders. And they are really designed to showcase the essence of the spirits we're producing, but they're wonderful cocktails. So we'll let people come in and just sit down and have a couple cocktails or do a tasting flight. Or we do this one other thing called a mini flight, which is basically 4 half-size cocktails that's very, very popular too.
So tell me a little bit more about the facility itself. We're in the Speakeasy. I love this place.
Yeah. It's the facility. This actually was an old Wings beach store. And we just happened when we decided we were going to open the business in Horry County. We looked all around, and when we came across this building, it was perfect for our needs. It's right at the intersection of Highway 17 and Highway 90. It's just over 10,000 square feet, which is the space we needed. And it was kind of 4 walls, so it was good news, blank canvas, bad news, blank canvas, right? Because we had to basically build everything. But it allowed us to completely design the building the way we wanted it, and because we're all about celebrating the end of Prohibition, we're like, we have to have a speakeasy. So we designed that into our plans. We designed the speakeasy to look like you step back into the Prohibition era, the 20s and early 30s. So we've got, red velvet damask wallpaper on the ceiling and acid etched copper bar and Chesterfield sofas. And it
antique
really gives it the vibe.
photos.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is a cool place that if people come in and they do what we call our VIP tours, which is we do them every hour on the half hour. They get a full tour of the facility. We explain the processes, and then we bring them into the speakeasy to do their tasting, which is really cool.
What is the process?
Well, the process is fairly complex. So we kind of start out just like a brewery does. We actually make beer. It's just called distiller's beer. We essentially create a mash just like a brewery would. It ferments out. Once it ferments out, then we distill it. And that's kind of the next step. That's where brewing stops and distilling kind of starts. And we have to do two distillation runs. We do a stripping run, and then we do a spirit run. We have 2 wonderful stills. One was hand-built for us in Germany, and the other one was made in Missouri.
I also understand, Kevin, that you're on a state committee, and hopefully you can get our legislators to better understand what a distillery does.
I'm part of the South Carolina Distillers Guild, and a lot of the distilleries in the state belong to that and are active in that. We actually just did some lobbying a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C., and it's part of it's at the federal level and part of it's at the state level, and it's really about getting some of the laws changed to make it a little more level playing field for those craft distilleries and to open it up a little bit so customers coming in can have a better experience, enjoy things a little bit more rather than the restrictions of closing early and only having 2 drinks. So we're making progress. It was only 18 months ago craft distilleries could only serve a sampling of their spirits, and now at least we can serve cocktails. So making progress a little at a time.
Well, with this being September, you've now been open about 4 months, and so your main goal is to contact every single restaurant in the area, isn't it, to get this in their hands?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and we've started down that path. So we're in distribution now, and it is important for us. Obviously, we love our facility. We love people to be able to come in here and enjoy our spirits and take bottles home with them. But the key really for growing our brand is to have it accessible to everybody all the time. And that's being in, the key liquor stores and also being enjoyed in the bars and restaurants locally. So we're actively working to try to invite those bars and restaurants to come in and try our spirits and hopefully onboard our product into their bars.
And finally, has everybody been receptive so far, welcoming you into the Little River and North Myrtle Beach area community?
It's been unbelievable. The community's been super supportive. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of people didn't know what a distillery was. They'll walk in and they'll ask, what kind of beers are you making? And then we explain things. But they've all really enjoyed it. They've been very supportive of new craft in the market. From all the way from, obviously the Chamber of Commerce, through all the locals that live here, and obviously the tourists that are coming in to enjoy the summer season too.
Doesn't surprise me. We are known for our hospitality. Kevin Osborne, welcome to the community.
Thank you.
It's 1233 Distillery, friends. Come visit in Little River. They'd love to have you. And don't miss this beautiful speakeasy. Thank you. Right after this break, meet United Way of Horry County's new dynamic President and CEO.
Honey, I think I'll adjust the thermostat. It's getting a little cool.
Mom, you don't have to get up to do that. I've installed the HTC Connected Home app on your phone. See, you can adjust the temperature from anywhere. Okay, Mom, I've got to go. Thanks for house sitting. Make sure to lock the door and set the alarm.
No problem. I have everything I need right here.
HTC Self-Install Kit, $0 with 36-month monitoring commitment.
HTC, this is life. Connect with it.
Enjoy the sights, sounds, and stories of the Long Bay Symphony under the direction of Maestro Dr. Charles Jones Evans. Season tickets are now available for the Classical Masterwork Series, an exciting schedule that features the renowned Long Bay Symphony, along with world-class guest performers. Come experience the classical masterworks of our very own acclaimed symphony. For the best selection of seats, purchase your season tickets early, and for new subscribers, buy one and get one free. Call or go online today at longbaysymphony.com. This segment of Inside Out is brought to you by Luke Rankin, Rankin & Rankin Law Firm. Experience you can trust.
Welcome to the United Way of Horry County. We're in their Conway office with their new president and CEO. This is Blakely Roof, and I've met her, many, many years ago when she first came to town, and she's had so many wonderful jobs that have set her up for this one. Blakely, tell everyone about some of the things you've done in the community prior to United Way.
Well, thank you, Diane. Yes, you helped me get my first job here in Myrtle Beach with the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. It was a great position for me to take when I first moved into town 13 years ago. I was in their membership division, worked with their educational programs and setting up GSing for young professionals. And then from there, I went to Conway Medical Center Foundation and in the marketing department. And then from there, I went to Habitat for Humanity of Horry County. I was their director of administration, so I've worked in the nonprofit field for a while now.
And that's great because working with 28 nonprofit agencies here, you know how they feel, how they operate, and their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's important to know the needs of our community, and I've seen that in several of my previous positions.
But this is a huge job. You've got 2 children, a wonderful husband, and yet you took on this challenge. I guess it's something that is in your heart.
Yes. I think you definitely have to have a passion working in the nonprofit field. I think if you talk to any other person in the nonprofit world, they would agree with that.
But you've been a volunteer for this organization, Blakely, and that's so important too.
Yes.
You worked in the allocations committee?
Yes. I've served on allocations for probably about 11 years now, which is the big piece of the United Way. So our biggest thing the United Way does is obviously our campaign. So we kick that off in a few days with our kickoff on September 13th, Friday the 13th at Market Common. We'll have live music and food, and our campaign runs through about April. So those are our big fundraising efforts where we go to employers and individuals in our community to try to raise funds so that we can partner and fund those 28 agencies that you mentioned, and then also fund some of our programs that we have, like United to Read, United to Learn, our VITA tax program, and other things that we do in the community.
I love the fact that you have a Day of Caring each and every year, and it's coming up in October. Let's tell everyone about some of the projects, and let's try to get more people involved to come out of the woodwork and help with the Day of Caring.
Yes, so Day of Caring is October 18th, and that's where we have hundreds of volunteers from the county come. We gather, we kick off at the Carolina Forest Recreation Center, and then they're dispersed out to several of our partner agencies, and they do many different community service projects, from power washing to painting to building sheds to building racks at a food pantry, to planting gardens, and it's just a way to get everyone involved on one day of caring, and you get a t-shirt and you get to eat. So what a better way to spend a Friday than volunteering with your peers.
When people ask you why they should give to the United Way, what do you say? I mean, there are a lot of people that don't realize, but they're probably in their own everyday life dealing with the United Way agencies and they don't even know it.
We are really working to create lasting change, and the 3 areas that we focus on are financial stability, health, and education when it comes to children. So to be a United Way agency, you have to go through a pretty intense process to get funding from us, which a lot of people may not understand. So I served on the United Way Allocations Committee for several years. I think you said you had served on it as well. So our partner agencies have to fill out a grant application. They have to talk about their program in that. They have to submit their budget, all of their financials, and then they come and they have to present that to our allocations committee, which is made up of anywhere from 3 to 5 volunteers, our allocations chair, some of our board members, and then they're questioned on how they're going to spend that money, and they're questioned on discrepancies that may come up in their financials and things like that. And then that committee makes a recommendation to our board of directors if we're going to fund them and at what amount. So it's something that they take very seriously because we want to make sure that we're spending our donors' money in the best way possible.
And I know that there's so many outstanding businesses in this community who participate in the United Way. We're proud that HTC participates in a great big way, but it always blows my mind when somebody is like the chairman of the board or whatever. And I mean, it's a full-time job for them, and businesses in our community give those employees that great opportunity.
It is, and let me just say, we're a staff of 5 people, and our volunteers make us able to do what we're able to do. And our chairman of the board right now is John Rowe with South Atlantic Bank. We're very grateful that his employer gives him to us because he is there for us whenever we need him to answer any questions. And then right now our campaign chair is Christy Everett with Grand Turn Water and Sewer. That's another huge role to take on because she is leading the charge for our campaign goal of $1.2 million. And during the campaign, we have about another 50 volunteers that are working tirelessly to get us to that goal. Through the allocations committee, there's about 30 to 40 volunteers. And then of course with Day of Caring, we have hundreds of volunteers. But there's several different ways that people can get involved. We have our United to Read, where on November 7th, we need hundreds of volunteers to come out and read to every single second grader we have in Horry County. We have United to Learn, where we pair up volunteers to mentor elementary school kids through 5th grade, where they'll come out and mentor them up to 2 times a week for the school year. And then we have our VITA Tax program, where we have volunteers that do free tax preparation for individuals in Horry County all through tax season. So there's several different things that we need volunteers at all times for. And a lot of times people don't realize that United Way does those different activities as well.
So as you can see, our new president and CEO has got a big job ahead of her, but she's got a great staff here at the United Way, and of course wonderful volunteers. I know, having known Blakely for years, that she is going to be the perfect person to head it all up. Best wishes, my friend Blakely.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all you're doing for all of us and the United Way of Horry County. Coming up, a cancer survivor travels the world through dragon boating.
Hi, I'm Wanda Howard, and I've known Clark Parker for a long time. Clark has been my CPA for the original Benjamin since 2006. He has proven himself to be knowledgeable, dependable, and available. I consider him to be an integral part of my business success. I even trust Clark for my personal estate planning. Small problems or large, Clark can help you navigate through them successfully.
Clark Parker and Myrtle Beach CPAs, proudly serving the area for over 40 years.
Perhaps you've heard about dragon boat racing. Well, here is one of my friends who is into dragon boat racing and has been for the past 12 years. It all started out, though, over something negative. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, looking for a support group, and heard about dragon boat racing. Barb, is dragon boat racing strictly for cancer patients?
Well, no, of course not. But luckily, we have some divisions in most of the festivals that do include breast cancer survivors and all types of cancer survivors.
What has this organization meant to you? There's a local organization that you've become very active and supportive in.
Yeah, I have to say I've always been very active in sports, but I've become pretty passionate about dragon boating, mainly because it has given me such a huge group of friends. It's a nice way to be active with people, and the camaraderie and support has just been awesome.
And it isn't just women, it's men too.
Absolutely, yes. And they seem to have just as much fun as the women.
Now, is this organization that you're involved in out of Pawleys Island?
We practice in Pawleys Island. We have a really nice marina, the Litchfield Reserve Marina, that we paddle out of. Yes.
Well, you already said you were always an athlete, but I would guess this is building up muscles in a whole different area, though.
Yeah, yeah. But the nice thing is that almost everybody can do it. You don't have to be a great athlete, but it's really nice, especially for older people that have not been active on team sports or even individual sports. It's something that people can do even if they haven't ever been on a team before.
So you've been involved locally, Barb, but then you've gone one step further and you've gotten involved as well with a Charleston group, and that has taken you to national events as well as world events. Tell me about the places you've been.
Yeah, I've been so lucky that they let me come from outside the Charleston area and join them. It started off when I was able to go to Portland, Oregon with them, and that was with a mixed team. And then I got involved with the breast cancer group, not exclusively, because I have joined the all cancer group as well, but the breast cancer team won nationals in Chicago one year, and that gave us a berth to Adelaide, Australia in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've been up to nationals at Lake Mercer in New Jersey, and we are going to be, when this airs, we're going to probably have been to Colorado Springs, and hopefully we will have done well enough to go to France in the summer of 2020.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I've really been lucky to be able to join several different groups. I have paddled with the Atlanta group, I've paddled with Charlotte, and I heard about this LinkedIn Pink group through the breast cancer, the International Breast Cancer Group. And they travel to all different kinds of places. They've been to Thailand, they've been to Switzerland, they've been to Venice. Then I'm really excited about going to Argentina in November.
Did you ever think that getting something as negative as breast cancer, when you all of a sudden realize you think this is the end of the world, oh my goodness, how this could turn out to be something so positive? You've got friends all over the world.
Yeah, no way. I never thought that this would happen. And I don't think that I ever thought that I would have needed a group like this, but boy, am I lucky that I fell into it. Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Now you live here in Myrtle Beach. How do you prepare, other than going down to Pawleys and joining the group? Do you still play tennis? How are you building up your stamina for all these events?
Well, we are required to do some cross training in order to bring our fitness to the boat, and so I have been working out. I play pickleball, I do a lot of biking, I do some kayaking, anything that's fun that also gets me to be a little bit stronger.
And you did tell me that your husband's been incredibly supportive. Even though you're now traveling all over the place, dragon boating, he's been A-OK with it.
Absolutely. That's probably the most fortunate thing. He supports my traveling all over the place, and I'm really, really lucky.
Way to go, Joe, right? Way to go.
Absolutely.
So this is Barbara Moyer, and she wants you to know that if you would like more information about dragon boat racing, if you've got any type of cancer, not just breast cancer, and male or female, by the way, there's the information. Get in touch with the group that operates out of Pawleys Island, and just know you too may have friends all over the world. Thank you, my friend Barbara Moyer.
Oh, you're welcome. This was fun.
Mission work right here in our community. That's what Impact Ministries is all about. Next on Inside Out.
As fellow community members, HTC knows the precious value of family time spent together. That's why HTC delivers faster speeds, 24/7 local tech support, and free Wi-Fi. No matter where the day takes me, HTC serves up the world-class high-speed internet you need to stay connected to your world. Because you are here, and so are we.
High-speed internet starting at 100 megabits per second. Call today.
HTC. This is life. Connect with it.
Today, we're in the Socastee neighborhood of Rosewood. And last year, after the third hurricane, Hurricane Florence, this neighborhood was underwater. These folks are still rebuilding, so God forbid we have another hurricane this year. I want you to meet Todd Wood. He happens to head up Impact Ministries. And I researched this organization. They're doing magnificent things in our community. And there's nobody singing their praises, and that's why I wanted to. It sounds like you're doing God's work a million times over, Todd. Tell me about Impact Ministries.
Impact Ministries is, as you shared, one of the greatest secrets in all of Horry County. Our history goes back over 65 years working in this community, all through volunteerism. We started doing day camps in campgrounds and chaplaincy in each of our campgrounds along the Strand, and that was the birth of our program, but it's grown into so much more over these last 65 years.
So we mentioned homes. Before we get into what you're doing here in Rosewood and throughout the county as well, I also know that you still work with children in many ways.
Oh, we certainly do. Each week throughout the summer primarily, and then spring and fall, we will take volunteer groups that want to come to Myrtle Beach to serve into the low-income communities. We go in and we offer a day camp, much like a vacation Bible school or a sports camp to the kids. We do it in the fall and spring on the weekend, and then often we'll go in on a week and do it for a whole week long to give these kids life skills, talking to them about bullying, but sharing love and just encouraging each of these kids.
And I know you worked all summer long too with the J1 students who came in from Europe and various places to work at our hotels and restaurants.
We certainly do. 6 years ago, we began to look at the needs in this community, and the J1 students were not only being hurt physically with the bicycles, they weren't being educated about our roads and safety, but they were in some unsafe living conditions. Today, sexual trafficking has become a huge issue. So as we sat down with the city of Myrtle Beach and discussed these issues, we said we've got to do something, and that birthed our J1 program.
So tell me about not only Rosewood, but what you've done throughout the county to help rebuild homes.
Well, part of my passion is disaster work. So when I came here 18 years ago, we began to do some work and really began to focus in on the county. And I went to Randy Webster and asked Randy, as Emergency Management Director, what is it that we could do to help facilitate recovery in Horry County? And he said, that's exactly it. We need folks who will help to coordinate the recovery once the event has taken place. So that began to be our real focus of recruiting volunteer teams to come here to Horry County to help us get families back on their feet by mudding out their homes, hanging new sheetrock, getting insulation in, and getting the families back into their home in a safe, secure condition.
Approximately how many homes here in Rosewood have you done?
Here in Rosewood, we've done about 30 homes so far that we've completed. Right now we have about 7 that are underway that we're still working on with our different ministry partners. So groups we hope will continue to come. We've got slated right now for the next 9 months that they'll keep coming.
But yet you've been all over the county.
We certainly have. We have created a website that we're able to utilize in times of disaster where families can go there and register at disasterhelp.me. And when a family goes there, they'll apply and say, I have a tree on my house, or my home was flooded, or I need a tarp on my house, and then we'll send a volunteer team to respond. We've had over 800 families across Horry County register during our last 3 hurricanes. In each of those events, there were over 800 that we responded to.
So how is all this funded, Todd?
Well, our funding takes place in two different ways. For the programming that we do year-round outside of times of disaster, that comes from about 70 families that support our ministry and programming, and there's about 8 churches that sponsor our work here locally in Horry County. Then when we have times of disaster, we can call on the Waccamaw Community Foundation, who raises support, and the Coastal Carolina Community Foundation, who manages the funds for the 1SC grant. So when we tell a family to go online to our website and to make a donation through Waccamaw Community Foundation for those funds, they can be assured that every dollar stays right here in Horry County, and that fund is used to buy materials that go into the family's home. I don't get a single dollar of that for salary, any administrative fees. All of that goes directly to repair the family's home so they can get back in them.
As I drove into Rosewood, I really was amazed at how many homes are still devastated from last year's flooding and hurricanes. You told me here we can see the water line on this house. Where do these people go? I mean, you got to hope that they're going to have friends or family that'll take them in until things are done.
People don't understand the devastation. Water was about right here where we're standing at this moment. These families have been hit 3 times with a hurricane. And over these last 3 hurricanes, they've exhausted all resources from the federal money that they get with FEMA. Most of them don't have flood insurance. They've taken out an SBA loan, maybe in the first hurricane or the second. So the time they get to the 3rd hurricane, they're at their wits' end, and we're seeing a lot of families walk away from their homes or just selling them to get out because they can't do anymore.
What can we do as a community to help you?
There's a couple ways you can help. One, obviously, you've been donating to the Waccamaw Community Foundation. That has helped to get the materials that we needed. But we need great community people who have skills, and we need you to serve on the disaster side. We have here in Horry County what's called the Waccamaw VOAD. It stands for Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. And we need you to help to serve there to bring coordination to all the groups that respond, the volunteers, the administration, and to help these families get back into their homes.
How does somebody volunteer for that? Simply a phone call?
Absolutely. They can give me a call, and I'll be more than glad to connect them with our Waccamaw VOAD here locally, or you can always call Horry County Emergency Management.
So if there was any missing piece that helped you to do your work better, Todd, what would it be?
It would be housing for our volunteers. As a community that's been hit 3 times, the difficulty is where are we going to put all these volunteers? The schools and county want to get them reopened and everything back to normal as quickly as they can, so they can't do it but a couple weeks. Our churches get exhausted after about 2 months. They're ready to get back to programming. So we've got to find a solution. And for us, we feel like it's building a facility here in Horry County where we can house up to 100 volunteers at a time, provide a place for them to eat, a place to shower, so that they can give up their week of vacation, come here and serve in a safe place. They'll have a place to sleep and then be able to return home.
Well, let's hope that some of our viewers out there will help make it happen. And if you can't help make it happen, call someone you know who can make it happen. It's Impact Ministries. Todd is doing God's work right here in our community, and I'm so proud of him and Impact Ministries. Thank you, Todd.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be able to serve you.
So if you or someone you love is in need of therapy, remember these great therapy horses out at Cutting Stars in Conway. Isn't that right, Blaze? How about a treat? Thanks for horsing around with us on Inside Out, and thank you, Holland.
Inside Out is presented by HTC. This is life. Connect with it. And sponsored in part by Luke Rankin, Rankin & Rankin Law Firm. Experience you can trust. And by Clark Parker with Myrtle Beach CPAs, proudly serving the area for over 40 years. And by Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food, where Mama eats.